We have 11:31. So we'll get started. Thanks everyone for being here. A few more may be coming through the door, but we'll get started.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Well, good. Okay, I'm Sandy Puckett. I'm one of the team members, and I would like to introduce the other team member, but she's not here. Karen, Karen Spencer, and our other team member that's going to be part of this session is Linda Lyman. And we have been chosen by the vestry, or requested by the vestry, to participate in this process. And we each represent one of the three faith experiences that have come together to be who we are today. So St. Luke's, St. James, and people that were not members of either church but have started coming here since we came together as one group. We really are so grateful that you're sitting here in this session today, and we can't tell you how important it is for us to receive all of your input. And we really are here to listen. Even though I do have a tendency to go on and on, I will do my best to listen, as will my teammates. So I'd like to just give you a little bit of history. I was part of the consolidation process when our two faith communities were coming together. Toward the end of that process, we did start a Name the Church campaign and asked people to submit names. And then a while later, we put together a Survey Monkey and sent that out to the members of the congregation and asked for their input. And we came up with about 15 names, which were then passed on to the vestry. And at that point, the consolidation committee was finished with their work. And time went on. The Delta variant hit, and we were put back to Zoom. We finally came back to services on the lawn, back on Zoom, and finally in 2022, we came together as a full congregation and have been in the sanctuary ever since then. A lot has changed since 2020. An awful lot has changed, and especially within our faith community. We've gotten to know each other, we've invited new members, etc. So we aren't where we were in 2021. It's 2 years later, so it just made good sense to start the process all over. We do have some guidelines. There are certain parameters for picking a name. There's no clear winner at all, but we do have certain parameters. It has to be the name of a saint. It has to be, or it can be a theological name, such as Trinity, Transfiguration, etc. And it cannot be a name that is already taken by a different faith community within a broad circumference of our faith community. So our timeline, I don't really have to go through, but if you look on the handout, you can see the timeline in the back, I believe. And this will give you a sense of the mission that we have to accomplish our goals by September and October. All right. Karen.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. Linda is now in the room, the room where it happened. And we do have two other team members here. Dave Larson, who is handling our technology, filming. So we're recording this session. So as much as we can speak into the microphone, so that can be recorded for others that aren't present so they can listen. So we're going to make that attempt today. And also Neil Cuthbert is here in the audience. So thank you. And so in beginning, I won't say beginning, continuing on this journey of a permanent name. This is our first learning session, and we will have the same format and prompt questions for the Zoom meeting on Wednesday this coming week. So for the month of June, the same format. And then we'll be revising for the month of July and August, or as we listen and take in information. So in an effort for the intentions for today's meeting, I wanted to start with our mission statement. So in reading that, an inclusive Episcopal community practicing the way of Jesus by loving our neighbors, striving for justice, growing spiritually, and celebrating in word, music, and art. Our intention questions that you can see on the paper that you have, a number of questions. Our time frame today will be we've clocked in about 12:45, I believe, a 45-minute block of time. We do have a little flexibility, but please feel free to come and go as you please. And our intention with these questions, we know many of you have been part of this continuing process, and so you have things that you would like to contribute. And so our questions are prompt questions to get us rolling and to re-ground us in our mission and what is resonating with you. You'll have an opportunity to contribute also and discuss in one small group today, and then we'd really like to hear from everyone. If our time becomes short or is ending and you have other things you would like to leave with us, we do have a note card with you with your sheet of paper that you can leave with us. You may also email us, and this is just the first month of our session. So, Julie has something to say. Yes. Yes.
Hi, thanks. I'm a process person, so a question about process. So first of all, the 6 listening sessions, are they all the same type of discussion? So you wouldn't need to attend more than one. And then out of curiosity, why does it have to be the name of a saint in our name?
Yeah. I'll answer the second question first. So it's an or. These directives or parameters were discussed with the process team prior to coming to us, so with the bishop. So he has made suggestions that a saint or yes, so it is an or, yep. As far as these listening sessions, there are 6 in our schedule in the calendar. So as you can see on this graphic, the yellow, the ones in June, it will be the same prompt questions. So what you have here will be the same. What the permanent name team, what we've discussed is that we want, what we hear at the listening sessions is going to, we're discerning along the way with what we hear and finding a common story that leads us to a permanent name. And so therefore, we've left ourselves open to be able to, at this first meeting, to begin thinking of a name as part of our community identity. For the second meeting, those questions or prompt questions is what will be different. So still a similar format, prompting questions, but what those questions are will be advertised to you in the bulletin prior to that next session. So today, Wednesday, and then our team will get together and reflect and review what we've heard in these first 2 June sessions. And then we will put out the next prompt questions. Am I accurate, Linda?
You are totally accurate. I just, my 2 cents on that would be that we want to get in touch with how you describe our church. What is the identity of this community, so that then we can look through, we can get your input on names, and we can make sure that we're representing accurately the community. So it's kind of like this is the foundation we're laying here today. What do you brag about us to people? How do you describe us? What resonates in the mission with you? And then on that, we will build. Yes, Julie? Yes.
I'm assuming that you'll have like a list and you'll distill it to like, let's say 3 names, and you won't put it back out to the congregation because that would be counterproductive, I'm assuming.
That's correct.
Trust that you've ever will come up with something that has been fed by others.
That's right. That is exactly right. And we're going to develop a survey once we get, our sea legs here. And, we'll put that out to you, but you can always talk to any of us. Yes, David? Yes, of course you can. No problem. And the meeting this coming Wednesday on Zoom will be the same meeting you're attending today. Maybe we will have changed clothes.
Maybe not.
Julie's question was, would we then take a bunch of names and distill those names and choose one to recommend to the vestry? And we agreed with that, but we wouldn't come back to this committee or to this parish with that. What we will do is we'll find out our identity, find out those words, and then make sure that the names that people suggest accurately reflect those words and that community. Does that make sense? And then David asked, if you miss a meeting, can you come, you can come to all the meetings. But if you're one in June, one in July, one in August is what we'd hope. But there'll be methods for you to get your input to us if you can't make the meeting dates.
How are we doing so far? To put us on, continuing on the road together, our prompt questions that we'd love for you to offer, and I can move around with the microphone so we can record and everyone can hear, is as you look and read our mission statement, what words in our mission statement are you most excited about? What word resonates with you? What is sitting with you? And then secondarily, what meaning does that have for you? And I love hand raising because then I know where to go. So
the word that stands out to me right away is inclusive. I feel it's very important that we have an inclusive community, which I feel we do at our church.
thank you.
I like practicing the way of Jesus. I think there are other ways that we could be practicing the way of Jesus that are not listed here. And maybe this is a little out of bounds, but I'm disappointed our mission statement does not mention anything about healing.
Thank you. Okay, how about Mary? One more with Mary. And then
I just like that our mission statement includes action words like the loving, striving, growing, practicing, celebrating.
thank you, Mary. Those of you that have other words, we're going to have you share in small groups. And if you would continue that with another thought, and this will be the last question that I ask, unless there's some reframing of a question from any of our team that's here. But as you break out a group of 2, 3, 4, whatever you decide with where you are and where you want to move around, that how would you describe our church community to a neighbor, a friend, a family member? What characteristics, what are you looking, how would you describe it? How would you brag about it, I think is our question here too. What do you celebrate? We'll take those action words. And so what do you celebrate about where we are now and where we're going? And so let me just do a time. So I have 11:45, and I think 10 minutes, and then we'll see where we are so people can break up and answer those questions. And then we'll come back together for a sharing out, and we'd love to hear from everyone or all the groups. And then we'll have some final opportunities. Yeah, you can group up wherever you'd like.
Okay, so here's our list of words that we came up with, or ideas. Incredible music ministry, and also challenging music. It's not like simple ABC music. It's good quality, high quality, dynamic, aspirational, inspirational, inclusion, ambitious, welcoming, youth involvement in the service, and community-minded.
Thank you.
Our group just had 2 of us, but my favorite word that David Summers used was glomming. He said when I first showed up, people just glommed onto me. And I said, so I appreciate that sort of sense that people come and stay because they are welcomed. And so glomming and welcoming are our core words.
Love that.
Hello. So in terms of our group, small group here, almost everything in the one way to look at the mission statement relates to service. And so service a community, ourselves, whatever. So it would lend itself to, names like Good Shepherd or Shepherd, whatever, or the Beatitudes in terms of feeding the hungry, service to prisoners, heal the sick, that whole passage.
Thank you. Everyone moved out of their groups a little bit, so let me know who's next, Mary.
I just wrote as I spoke, so I guess I'll try to cover for our group here. Some of the words that we talked about were vibrant, active, caring, inclusiveness was really important, welcoming, healing, spirit-filled, active. There's a depth of spiritual practice that's individual as well as communal. And we also talked about why it's important for us to be an Episcopal community, that it's a long-lived religion with that has a long history with a celebration centered on the Eucharist, and it's consistent no matter where you are in the world.
Thank you.
Hi there. Our mighty group of 3 came up with inclusive, welcoming, and then we said growing spirit because our congregation is growing when many Episcopal churches are not or are shrinking. Service, and then we came up with energy to kind of try to describe what that is that's causing us to grow.
Thank you.
So since I hope I'm not just speaking for me from our group. There were 4 of us in our group. Like I think all the other groups, inclusive was one of the first words that jumped out to us. One of the things we spent some time talking about was the phrase practicing the way of Jesus. And we talked about how practice connotes action, but also suggests people who recognize they still are on the way to figuring out what it means, just like a doctor has knowledge and skill, but continues to gain in knowledge and skill. And then also the phrase way of Jesus, I think says something about the kind of Christian community we seek to be, in contrast with, to me, practicing the way of Jesus suggests we're trying to focus on the kind of people we're seeking to be. And of course, the specifics of what we believe are really important, but who God is helping us become is what's most important, as opposed to here's the list of here's the list of theological assertions we all must ascribe to.
Yeah, I'm Mark, and there were 3 in our group, and the one word that we resonated most with was inclusivity. And what Gail pointed out was being inclusive doesn't, for us anyway, mean just like sexual orientation. I mean, it's so much more than that. It's all kinds of diversities, diversity of belief. There's a lot of people in the parish that didn't grow up Episcopalian, like Ruth Ann. And so being open and inclusive and accepting and welcoming to all those different kinds of diversities that we're accepted who we are. The other little vignette I wanted to share, they asked me to share this, was so I came in here and was just getting oriented, and I sat down, and then Ruth Ann says, "Hi, Scott." And you don't see my name, and some of you don't know the joke there, but my name is Mark, right? And so I thought, okay, whatever. And I sat down and we started talking, and then we got into our discussion, and she said that, and what Scott said, or something like that. Yeah. And I thought, oh, okay. So it was inconsequential to me. And then we were talking about the name, and it just hit me, and I said, hey, I got to share this. When you said Scott, and I thought it didn't matter, I said, it didn't matter because you know who I am. And we were, and I thought, and we were in this group the other night, actually the 3 of us, right? The justice group, and we've shared on other occasions, and I've gotten to know Tony much better. But she knew who I am, so the fact that she called me Scott it was not an offense. It was like irrelevant. It's just, it's not who I am. I'm not my name. So I just wanted to leave that out there. And I shared with Neil earlier the name of a place. I gave the example of the IDS building. It hasn't been Investors Diversified Services for decades, but we just know it by that name. And so the idea of who we are and our names are different things, and I don't think we need to be anxious or what am I trying? It doesn't have to say who we are, so we can put a lot of weight on the name, like it has to say who we are, and I think that's a mistake.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have other words they want to contribute that may not have come out in the group report outs? Joyful. Joyful, okay. I left my notes over there. I'm so growing, okay. Hopeful, I like that, and joyful. Okay, so would you please, we're going to pass out, just like during the search committee, we asked you to pray for us and pray for our parish as we go through this process. So we have some prayer cards, and I'm going to ask people to pass those out. And while we're wrapping up here, would you please take the time on those little 3x5 cards to write the 3 words that you feel are most important? We've captured everything. We're going to listen to this again. But could you give us, some prioritization on those concepts that are important to you, so we can make sure we capture that? And we will. You can just pass them in. Yes.
I just got a question on the not duplicating other church names in the Twin Cities.
Yeah. Yes, we do. And if you that work has already been done by Sandy. Where are you, Sandy? I can't see you. Oh, there she is. And so we know which names would not be accepted. And I could read that list to you. Hold on. We have it accessible, and well, no, we're talking about any church. It could be Zen, it could be Roman Catholic, it could be anything, but we just don't want to be confused with another church. So, it wouldn't, but correct, but it could be, oh my goodness, are we out of prayer cards? I only printed 40. We could do that, but we would prefer not to, only in that, for us, we know we're Episcopals, but if someone said to you, I really like St. Aloysius, and you didn't know there was more than one, you know, it could be confusing. So we're going to try to steer clear of that, but we're open to everything at this point. We're just starting. Okay.
We're supposed to put our top 3 in order.
Yeah. Yeah, in some order, or just what your top 3 are, or what 3 really speak to you, so that we kind of have that input as well. And then you can just pass those to one of us, and please return your pens to us. Has there been anything that you want to talk about that we didn't talk about today? Okay, wow. I feel very accomplished. Okay, may the Lord be with you. Assist us, Lord, in living hopefully into the future and determining a permanent name for our parish. Help us to set unnecessary fears aside and to recognize our potential for creative response. We ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.